It started.
Yay! Hello, everybody. It's my warmed over corpse.
And it's Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear, right,
Company. Man, I feel like we should come up with a different one for these music episodes going forward.
Oh, we already have a name for it. It's called, and it's all the slander.
At least today's episode. So today we're going to be reviewing or talking about FX, the K-pop girl group from SM Entertainment. There are trigger warnings for most bad things, honestly, suicide, bullying, some abuse. So I would say if you can't handle that, I would say probably don't watch this because unfortunately it is a thing we have to talk about when reviewing FX. Also, if FX is like, I'll put it this way, I like FX, but Sam and I are all about the slander. So if they're like your favorite group and you just don't want to hear it, I would not watch this episode.
Yeah. I feel like the theme song, I'm all about that slander, no bullshit. I'm all about that slander.
All right, so I picked FX to review. So I picked 17 songs for us to do, mostly group songs, but I also picked like a handful of solo songs because most of the girls have some solo work. So I figured, well, why not talk about it?
Tell us who FX is if you don't mind, Mason.
FX was a 5-piece girl group, eventually became a 4-piece for one promotional cycle of SM Entertainment. They debuted in 2009 and are the sister group of SHINee, who debuted 2 years before that. They were known for like their overly quirky style, very experimental for the time, and known as the unloved SM girl group for the most part. Their legacy is sad. Like, it's not, you don't look at FX and you're like, man, they did that. You're like, man, what happened? So what did happen? Let's start.
Okay, so I'd like to start with the fact that in my mental history of FX, I've always assumed that F was a group that SM didn't mean to get popular. I feel like FX was built much the same way Super Junior was. It was a bunch of leftover trainees that SM really wasn't sure what to do with. Mm-hmm. And that there was 1 or 2 members of FX that they had big plans for, and they felt like this could be a fun project for them until they moved on to the next thing that was supposed to be their main gig.
It was definitely built for Sully and a little bit for Crystal. That was the vibe. It's like Sully was this child actress. SM signed her very early on, actually. I was reading about how she used to share a dorm with both Taeyeon and Tiffany before they joined Girls' Generation. So Sully had been there for a minute, and this was kind of their way of giving her a project. And then Crystal was Jessica's sister from Girls' Generation, and very beautiful. So they were like, well, we'll give them stuff. And this is what they gave them. Quirkiness.
Yes. And it's very obvious from day one who the stars of this group are. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the first song, but it never changed. Just to be clear, it wasn't like after the group got popular that SM reconsidered where to go with this group. Instead, it's like Isuman and his stupid Kwangwa universe thing. Like, he gets these stupid ideas in his head and he is too pig-headed and proud to let them go. And instead of looking at FX and saying, hey, this thing has legs, instead he's like, nope, I know who I like and I know how I'm going to promote this group around the people that I like. And in the end of the day, I honestly lay his pig-headedness at the floor of the reason why this group ended up turning out the way that they did.
Absolutely. They should have way more music than they do. And they honestly, when we get to the videos, they should have much better videos than they do.
Yes. So I guess that means let's start with the very first video on the list. Their debut song is this is yes.
Um, it's a song. It has words. I enjoy the chorus enough. I don't think this is like, honestly, as far as K-pop debuts go, honestly, nothing to write home about.
I like La Chata. I think the part that I like about the song is the baby part. Baby. I like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
part a lot. That always sounds really good. Also, I wanted to say something because appearance is very important about FX. Luna looks amazing in this song. Like there's these scenes of her sitting on this gold half moon
Mm-hmm.
where her hair is luxurious. She's got on a beautiful dress. She looks like she's not even a part of the group, honestly, because most of the fashion that they have in this song, it's like somebody rolled around at the Goodwill and said, clothes. And so she's got this scene where she's got beautiful dark hair. Her makeup is pretty. She's got this moon that she's sitting on. She looks awesome. And this is the best Luna will look for at least 5 comeback cycles.
Oh yeah, it's like she starts strong and just nightmares happen to her.
Yes, they decide that she's not allowed to have brown hair anymore. So they dye it like various shades of failed bleach. And
Failed. Beautiful girl. Don't know why they went with that hair color for her. Like
I,
the platinum was not the look for Luna. It was never the look.
yeah, well, her hair was never even platinum. It was always like shades of orange. Like it's always like underdeveloped bleach.
No, in Hot Summer it was like platinum, and I was like, yeah.
She
She
just,
just they gave her jet black at one point, and it's like even that didn't work the way you wanted it to. But yeah, I think
yeah, it
Cha
was
is
just,
a fine song. I think it's shows promise for all of the members. The dance is cute. I did find it funny that like I realized towards the end of the song, I was like, I don't think Amber's opened her mouth at all. And then she has like this
oh,
very small English rap at the end. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's her part.
yeah, I think she sings baby one time. So this song is a very SM song. Like if you
Yeah.
look at this music video, it's a little bit dark. Like I said, they've got like some wild fashion going on. But the video is very like a set. It's a set
Right.
that has no other people in it. They live in this kind of very fake looking little world. It's very second gen. It's very early second gen at that too. I
It's
noticed a distinct quality difference between the video for La Chata and the video for New ABO. It's almost like somebody turned the lights on in the studio.
yeah. It's like the poster child for 2009 K-pop in a lot of ways, this song. Like
Yes.
if you want to show someone what was K-pop like in 2009, La Chata. It's that.
Yes. And if I had to think of an SM video that has a very similar color, gradient, and look, Chinese Replay. These two videos very much are very similar.
Well, they're sibling groups, so
There you go.
all right.
So yeah,
Let's
next.
fine. Next, we get to New ABO. So there is a song in between these. It's called Chew. I don't care for it, and I just didn't think it was like an impactful or meaningful song for the group. Like it was fine, it was whatever. But I feel like New ABO was their first really big hit. It's also my very first K-pop song. So I have special feelings for New ABO. I remember in high school, my friend was like, you got to listen and watch this video. And I was like, this is a jam. And I listened to it constantly. And then she's like, well, here's some IU, some Shiny, some After School, and some G-Dragon, and some Brown Eyed Girls. And I was like, sold, 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 sold. So here I am now with hundreds of K-pop CDs.
So Chew, if we're talking about the superior song with the word Chew in it, it's not Chew by FX, it's Mr. Chew by A Pink.
Oh yeah, Mr. Chew. Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah. But Chew did have a nice chorus. I will say that. Do it, Chew. That's a fun chorus.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's really not much to say about Chew. So you're not missing anything by us not talking about it. New ABO, I have to say, it's been a long time since I listened to the song. That song is so interesting because it's got a lot of weird sound things going on.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like it's taking place at like a concert setting because there's a lot of like background noise.
Yeah, echoey. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I just want to know who produced this because it is an early precursor to SM's noisy production because there's so much going on.
There's a lot going on, but it still feels really balanced. And you get like, I mean, you have such good moments. Like I love the like Luna's bridge where she just kind of pops off and you're like, ooh, she can really sing.
It's very Chongmin-esque.
Yeah, I love the group chorus. SM is probably the only K-pop company that really leans into that. And I feel like that's something I wish more companies did was like group choruses, you know, let the girls harmonize. Why not? I still don't think Blackpink can harmonize, but that's a story for a different day.
Woo! All the slander.
I mean, have you seen it?
I'm not saying I've seen it. I'm just saying, why are they catching strays in a conversation about FX?
I don't know. Insert that meme of what Nene Leakes going, now see how I get pulled into shit that doesn't involve me.
But yeah, it's got the hysteria, that part.
Yeah, it just rolls really well.
Yeah, and then the na 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 na. Yeah.
I thought the members looked good. I liked the fashion. I honestly still like the fashion, like Crystal's like chopped bangs with like the bleach on the end. I honestly live for it. It's so cute. No.
I say that FX did not get real clothes until Hot Summer. The clothes that they had previous to Hot Summer were not clothes that human beings actually wear. They were clothes that somebody drew on a character and said, can we put this into like human clothes? Because no one wears this many layers. No one wears this kind of hair. No one wears hoodies on top of this kind of hair. Like, it's just wild. The shit that they have Amber wearing is ridiculous. The shit that they have Sully wearing is like, the wig from this video should be burned.
Yeah. Sully, for being the like main visual and reason behind the group, being given some of the worst clothes in this entire group's history does not make sense, SM. Like there are times where she genuinely looks the worst and you're like, do you hate her? Do you guys secretly hate her? Because what's happening here? But I do love your point that it looks like a cartoon and then they made it, but I think that's why I like it because I'm like, these would make good drawings. Like this would be cute. It also reminds me of like Disney Channel, you know, where in like old school Disney Channel, it'd be like Hannah Montana and she'd be like cardigan, tank top, sweater, long pants, skirt, boots, fur. And you're just like, why are there so many layers here? We're in Malibu, you know?
It is awful. It is absolutely awful. But I appreciate that, you know, they weren't trying to give you clothes envy. I think a lot of times now, a lot of groups dress in ways that let you know what kind of money they have because they're wearing such and such designer. Whereas I don't feel like anything they were wearing was designer in this video. Everything in this video you could have easily probably bought down at like some street market where they sell clothes, and it's just like, I have $50. How many articles of clothing can I buy with this $50? Plus, how many layers of bracelets and earrings and necklaces can I get with it as well?
Yeah, they went down to Goodwill.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on here. But yeah, another video where I actually forgot Victoria was in the group. That happens a lot throughout this entire watch. It's like, where's Victoria? Also, I'm surprised how little we see Victoria, because from what I understood about this group, Victoria was the leader.
She is the leader.
And if I did not know that, I would assume that Crystal was the leader because her presence in videos is the strongest.
For sure. And I only think that's one of Crystal's biggest assets is she is just so camera ready at all times. She looks like she
Mhm.
should be on camera, even if she had no talent. But I do think she's talented, but she really just looks like she should just be on a camera, you know?
Oh, yeah. Every shot of her could be a still shot. It's crazy how much she looks like that is her group. And then Sully definitely fills the visual role, and Amber feels like the, can we get the lesbians to co-sign role?
Mhm.
And that's really it. You honestly forget that Luna and Victoria are in this group.
Luna, you're like, oh, who's she? She can sing, but she just like, I guess we'll talk about it when we get to like more of their solos. As great as a singer Luna is, the camera presence is often not there. And I think Victoria is very beautiful. I don't know. I think they just could do more with her. Um,
Yeah.
and it's weird. I do think it's funny that you say that you thought Crystal was the leader because she's the Mangne. Like she's the youngest bitch there.
Really? I thought Sully was the youngest.
I'm pretty sure it's Crystal.
Uh. Either way, Crystal looks like the lead. Like the way that the confidence that she has and the amount of parts in songs that she gets
Mhm.
makes her appear to be the leader.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So next song,
Danger, I think. Yeah.
Pinocchio.
This is my least favorite song out of the well, besides one of the solos, this is my least favorite group song out of the bunch here, I'd say. I
It's the
just
most forgettable.
I just don't I just don't like it. It's their first it's their I've added it because it's their um first studio album single. And I was like, that's important. It's their first studio album. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Pinocchio?
I have thoughts about the look of Pinocchio. I thought Pinocchio is beautiful. Like as a video, if you watched it with the sound off and just play whatever your favorite dance track is behind it, it's a gorgeous video because it's so colorful,
Mm-hmm.
like impossibly colorful, like vibrant pinks and blues. And Sully has this hat with these pink toy dinosaurs on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the most ridiculous thing anyone could ever wear in life. She looks stunning in this hat.
Right?
It is crazy how good she looks in this ugly ass dinosaur hat.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back when SM was like making a lot of clothes. And so it was just like somebody sat there and said, this hot glue is a look. And she pulls it off. But yeah, I was like, this is like the height of SM's colorful era, because everything about this video just screams we got new cameras in the building.
Yeah. It's colorful, candy coated. It's honestly video wise, like one of the reasons that K-pop is such a draw. It's just everything's like candy coated and beautiful to look at.
Yeah, very much a serotonin boost. I don't necessarily think this song is a particularly memorable song in their catalog, but I think that looks wise, you can't get over the look of this video. This video very much is like, if I had to tell you what K-pop looks like, it would be a still from this video and then probably like the intro to Genie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good picks. Um,
So yeah, I think it's a forgettable song, but I think it is a very memorable video.
but they stepped it up with their repackage of Hot Summer, which is the better song and honestly better video. I like the fashion more in Hot Summer.
I feel like the fashion in Hot Summer is more wearable. I think I already had said that previously. Like they didn't have like actual human clothes until Hot Summer, even though Sully's got on like two dresses at once, or she's got like a dress and then a big pinafore underneath. It's weird. Uh, but Hot Summer is my least favorite FX track title song.
Really, I think it's really boring verses, but like the hot summer, hot like the chorus is really catchy.
I think the choreography is catchy, but I think the chorus is bland.
That's fair. I am a fan. Okay, this is where my bias is showing. I prefer the Girls' Generation version, Takeover. If you haven't heard it, it leaked online a few years ago. It was like they did a version with Girls' Generation and with FX, and they gave it to FX. And the Girls' Generation version is called Takeover, and it has Jessica on it, which is crazy because when that came out, it was like no one had heard Jessica on a Girls' Generation song in like 6 years. So if you want to take a listen, I really enjoyed the Girls' Generation version of the song.
Mm. But yeah, I mean, it was SM actually had people on set this time, which was very different for FX because they had existed in a world where they were the only people in it.
Even though they had people, I was still thinking like there should be more people. Like they're singing Hot Summer and their half the video is them like in a boxed room. And it's like you need to be on the rooftops doing Hot Summer with people. Like they should have done what Wonder Girls eventually did for Like This, where there's just like a flash mob of people. That's what that video should have been.
It should have been, but that's not what we got. And so we just
Yeah.
have to live with that. Now we're about to talk about my introduction to FX, because even though I had been into K-pop since 2012 and that Wonder Girls was my first group, the first FX song I can remember hearing in all of my K-pop history is this next song, Electric Shock.
Listen, iconic, classic, a banger. 10 out of 10.
It's their most viewed music video on YouTube. And in my opinion, it is that bitch. There's just something about Electric Shock from the very first time you hear the opening, that kind of fuzzy electric sound that you're just like, oh, we're serious, aren't we? And I love the fashion of this video. They have like these kind of like rock band t-shirts on that I really dig. It's got crazy English. They're trying to say gauge and they're say gagey.
Yeah.
It's just it's full of all of the magic that makes SM candy. And
Yeah.
I think that if I was going to start somebody with FX, I would want to start them here, only because you can't listen to this song without thinking, I'd like to listen to something else from these people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great song. I love how the chorus is super simple, but the verses are chock full of interesting changes going on. And it just keeps the song so interesting. The song never feels like it stops. When you start it, you're like, oh, I have got to hit the dance floor.
I love the ad-libs, but the ad-libs are, yeah, aha, oh, you know.
Although whenever I watch this video, I think of the Anna Kendrick joining FX College Humor skit. Have you ever seen that? Oh, it's like around the Pitch Perfect times where Anna Kendrick joins FX and they like refilm part of the video with her. It's a time.
But yeah, like this song has very interesting verses because the first set of verses are not the same as the second set of verses, which it's also, I would say FX's Electric Shock and the accompanying album is really when SM decided to make FX kind of a test laboratory for some of the other weirder sounds they were going to do for the rest of SM, because there's some really interesting harmony moments here that you didn't hear on previous FX outings.
It's a really interesting album. I don't know if it's my favorite FX album, but there's a lot of unique stuff going on. And it made FX the group to look out for in the sense that you're like, I really don't know what they're going to do next.
Oh yeah. You're just like, it's weird because it's not like this song is so experimental that you can't relate it to a new ABO. Like it's definitely in that same family. It's not completely divorced from that. But like, whereas new ABO, it definitely felt like they were just like throwing shit at the wall. With this song, it very much is purposeful, but it's almost like they were like, how far can we take these girls? Because there's so many interesting vocal moments with them in this song that you realize they're just like, what can y'all do? If we were just to like try to push you there, how far can we go with your voices? And so like there's some really, really nice vocal layering in a lot of this song that I don't think gets enough appreciation.
SM's usually really great about vocal layering as a whole. I really like how this song truly does feel like SM. Like SM always goes into their groups with like really big ideas, right? And I feel like Electric Shock is when SM finally got what they wanted from FX initially. Like they were like, cool, we hit the stride.
Yes. And so the album itself is a weird album. And when I say weird, I mean top to bottom, head to toe. It is a weird album. The actual photo book for the album, I'm not going to pull it out because then I'd have to dig through all my K-pop albums, but it's like these scenes of the girls from FX wandering through the forest with a man wearing an animal head. And
Yeah,
it looks like they're being hunted. It feels very much like a serial killer movie.
yeah. And they're like so overexposed and edited in such a weird way. It's just an odd time.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but it's FX. And if you are able to get your hands on a copy, then you'll know the magic that is the Electric Shock photo book.
Mhm.
Um, because FX is not a part of SM anymore, getting your hands on their physical stuff is purely secondary market. You're not going to get any new stuff from them because SM, like a lot of Korean record labels, once the promotion period is over, they do not reprint these albums.
Mhm.
Like the fact that people can still get BTS's first albums brand new is unique in K-pop because even with Big Bang and a lot of these other groups, after the promotion period is over, they very rarely do reprints.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, Electric Shock, a time.
A good start. And then we roll into my favorite FX song, Rum Pum Pum. People hate this song, and I don't understand why.
I I think that people dislike Rum Pum Pum because at the time Electric Shock was such a different sound and Rum Pum Pum was kind of dark. And so I think that's the reason why a lot of people had a hard time getting into it. Because again, they were not letting, after Electric Shock, no title track that FX did ever sounded similar to the title track previous.
Yes. But I like that. I don't know. I love the harmonies in the chorus. I love the little quirky beats. I love the slow start that the song has, and then it builds into this like very explosive first chorus, and then it winds back down. I just like the pacing of the song a lot.
I like a lot of parts of this song. I think my favorite parts of the song are at the very end of the song when all the different vocal motifs start layering on top of each
Yeah, yeah,
other.
yeah.
Like that part is super interesting, and it's again, it's not something you're going to hear from a lot of SM groups,
Uh,
and it's something that's very hard to do because this is a 5 member group. It'd be different
uh,
if this was like a 15 member group and everybody could take a piece, but this is a 5 member group and they're doing like 3 different motifs at once.
yeah. It's really
So
interesting. The video is also a favorite of mine. I really love the outfits. I do. I think almost everyone looks great in every outfit. I especially love the bits in the video where it's like starts at the top and they're sitting on like a glass platform and it's like the camera's like swirling around them like top to bottom. That is so cool. And I love the outfits they're in. Crystal's looking like the Riddler for some reason. I don't know, but it looks nice. She's in lime green with bright red hair. Sully's in like this floral dress with like zebra print at the bottom and like a clear plastic jacket. It shouldn't work, but she looks great. Victoria looks stunning. They just look good.
yeah, Luna's got black hair again, which is great for her, but
It's
they
not,
didn't do it.
yeah, it's like the color isn't bad. It's just they didn't style it at all. They're just like, man, let it hang. Let it hang.
Yeah. So hold on to these precious times because they don't last for very long. So this was a major period of popularity for FX. If FX was popular before, they became superstars during this period because Pink Tape is the album that this song is the title track for. And Pink Tape, it for many second gen fans, is probably some of the most iconic packaging in K-pop history.
Yeah.
So Mason's got problems with the packaging. I will let him tell you those problems, but I will start out by saying that the packaging was meant to look like a VHS tape. And so it was styled to look like a VHS tape. And a lot of people are like, oh wow, this is very trendy and nostalgic. And I would say yes, it is, because we're still seeing a lot of that same aesthetic today. But I remember when a young baby Mason was on the YouTubes telling everyone, this paper slip on top of this album is stupid as shit. It's so hard to store. Everyone who says this packaging is great is lying, because this fucking paper sleeve on the outside of this album is the fucking worst, and we need to acknowledge that fact.
I don't remember that, but I believe you. I was like, I don't remember having problems with the packaging. I remember having problems with the album itself, like musical content. Okay, this is where the real slander starts. I think y'all do too much for Pink Tape. I think it's a very okay album. I think it was cute for the time. I get it, but you know, cute for the time doesn't mean it's cute now. And I just don't think any of those songs I honestly ever want to listen to again. I don't think there's any B-side off of Pink Tape that I'm like, wow, gotta go check that out. That one was real good. I'm like, this is all fine. It's fine. I think Red Light and Four Walls are far better albums. And the fact that Pink Tape is considered to be often their best and most iconic makes me sad, because that should go to Four Walls, and we'll get to Four Walls when we get to Four Walls. But Pink Tape, it's just an okay album.
I think Pink Tape is a fine album. I want to say it's a mini album because I don't think it has that many songs on it.
No, it's a full album.
Oh, okay. For some reason, my memory is like there's only about 9 songs on there. Um, I think it's a fine album. Packaging wise, it is very memorable. If you're able to get your hands on one, I highly recommend having it for your collection because it just looks stunning in your collection, you know?
Right.
I think that, again, SM's doing a lot of experimenting with FX. One thing that I find is a hallmark on a lot of FX albums, and it's kind of the same with Red Velvet, is that there's no theme for their albums, which I find very challenging sometimes. You know, certain albums, you're like, oh, this is when this group was doing this period, or this is when they were working with this songwriter a whole bunch. And with Red Velvet and with FX, the same. Sometimes they have these albums in their discography where it just feels like somebody pulled their hand through a hat, and whatever like songs came out on the strips of paper, those were the songs that were recorded. None of the songs sound similar. They just don't. They're all very disparate, and they're very just, who picked this? Like, that's the thing about FX, because again, they're the lab. And so it was very much like, who picked this and why? Because these don't necessarily go together.
Uh-huh.
But I appreciate that, because sometimes you sneak in a really interesting song when you're doing it that way. And we'll talk about one of the B-sides a little bit later, but yeah, sometimes there's like something really interesting going on when you do it that way. But it is something where you do get surprised. You're like, huh, I was not expecting that to be the follow-up. Also, this was, I believe, the first FX outing where they let Amber write a song, and she did the summer song. And I want to say, she wasn't singing it. It was another member of the group singing it, but Dio from XO is the male voice on the album. And
okay.
Yeah, he's a fave. We love Dio in this house.
We are Dio stans, yes. Although I don't think either of us own his album, so sorry, sis.
I own multiple versions of it. Don't slander me like that. I own.
I thought you didn't even like the album.
Okay. Again, because we digress. I like Dio's album. It's just not the kind of album I would listen to frequently, because it is a ballad album and I'm not a ballad bitch. But it is a really strong ballad album. I will say that much. Also, I did not realize what a multilingual king Dio is, but he sings in Spanish and English on the album. His English is immaculate. His Spanish is more than passable. I'm shocked. I was stunned. And also, he's really good to look at. And not like I think he's fine. I will never say Dio is fine. I think he's a good looking kid for sure. Actually, man, because he's like, what, almost 30? But he has the most soulful, deep looking eyes that I cannot look away from him.
When a photo of him looking at camera makes it feel like he's looking into your soul. Like, I think
Yes.
that's why he connects so well. Same with Crystal. I think that's the key to like great camera presence is sometimes people look at the camera and I'm like, oh, they're looking at the camera. But when I feel like Crystal, a Dio, a Hyuna, a CL, when they're looking at the camera, they're looking at you right in the eyes. And I think that's the secret.
Yes. And he's got it. He's got it in spades. And I enjoy him quite a bit. Also, he's got a phenomenal voice. Like that's the other thing too. Like even though it's a ballad album, it's still his voice.
The What Is Love remix that he did for SM Station stays with me.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah. Eventually we'll do one of the boy group things. It's gonna be far down the road, but when we do, we'll probably do a quick like what happened to EXO slander episode, and that'll be fun to talk about because we've got some friends who love EXO, and I feel like they will be in our comment section saying, how dare you? And that'll be a good time for our friendships.
I just say we invite Alex on and we can all yell at each other. You, me, Aggie, and Alex, the four of us talking about EXO. The fucking nightmare that would be.
I am already trying to figure out how we're going to film Mariah Carey around Alex's work schedule because I feel like we can't do the Mariah Carey episode without Alex.
Yeah, Alex has to join us for the Mariah Carey episode. And our eventual, I'm serious now. We now have to do an EXO episode and it has to be you, me, Alex, and Aggie. And just like, see what happens.
I mean, we won't get to talk. It will be Abby the whole time. It will not be us. Like we'll be here and be like, yep, sure does.
No, it'll be good. It'll be good. All right.
Actually, we should have Abby do the list. If we do the EXO episode, we'll have Abby do the list.
I think we should have her and Alex collaborate on a list.
Okay, then we'll never get a list, but all right. I'm just saying, it's the push and pull. We'll never get a list. But moving on from there, after Pink Tape, we entered the dark times for FX.
This is the dark ages.
We never leave them. We never leave the dark times.
Yeah, it's gonna get sad. So we move on to Red Light, which as a song is super weird and interesting. I like it sonically. I think the video is what sells me the song. The video is amazing. I love so much about the video. I love the outfits. I love the mood lighting. I love just like them on a black background with just like colored geometrical lights on them. And they're just like striking a pose. It's so aesthetic. It's beautiful.
I remember the first time I heard Red Light, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I remember that being the feeling. I remember watching the video when it premiered and being like, what? And then being like, okay, things have gotten dark. Why is this book on fire? Where's the cat? I mean, it just seemed like so much was going on. And at the time, I was like, I don't know if I like this. Like, I really don't know if I like this. But I went ahead and I bought a copy anyway, because I know that SM's out of print game. I wasn't about to lose out. But it has been over time that I've really come to embrace Red Light. And I think it's because with K-pop, unlike a lot of different forms of music, the videos really impact the way you listen to the songs. Like there's certain songs in K-pop that you can't think about the music without thinking about the video. Like you just, it's not possible. And this is one of those songs that I think I was looking at the video so hard that I'm like, I don't know if I like this song, but this video is mesmerizing. Probably my favorite parts of the video are the parts with the diamond pink light.
Yes. Yes, that part. And then they have the diamond pink lighting and then the part where the song literally pulsates sonically and Luna on screen like pulsates at you. Oh, so good.
Yeah. So this song apparently is about the Sewol Ferry tragedy.
It is? How?
Yeah, I know. Like, this is the thing that K-pop has been telling people for years, is that this song is about the Sewol Ferry tragedy. And I'm like, I'm not sure how. I'll need somebody to explain this to me. But apparently there is supposed to be some type of link with this. I don't know about all that, but every time I watch this video, I always find myself trying to find it, and I'm like, I can't.
I don't see it. It's about like being a bad bitch in the jungle. Like I don't understand how that connects to the soul fairy.
Jungle. They're in an abandoned warehouse.
No, but like lyrically, it's like I'm a baddie in the jungle, I think. Girl, it's a weird time. It's a weird time.
Okay.
I always thought that the Soul Fairy SM video was Red Velvet's One of These Nights. I thought that was the one people were like.
That is what all of K-pop says visually, but according to SM, it's not. And I don't know if the reason why SM said no, it's not, is because according to lore, if it is about Soul Fairy, everyone dies except for the youngest member, Yeti.
Yeah.
Like that's the way most people interpret it. And so if it's not about that, but yeah, a lot of people have been like, no, this was actually about it. And so discuss in the comments if you want to. These are not things that we're saying are for sure, but like of the songs that people have said the SM has released that are about Say Fairy, they said it's been Red Light is about it, and that of course Red Velvet's One of These Nights, the video, not necessarily the song. Also, Justice for One of These Nights, you bitches are scandalous heifers. You never let anything good pass. We're going to talk about another gem a little bit later on that you did dirty, but right now, let me tell you, One of These Nights is one of the best ballads that Red Velvet has ever done in their entire discography, and y'all paid it dust. The video is beautiful. The song is beautiful. Their voices sound amazing. The choreography, when you see the live stages, is super gorgeous and lovely. And you guys were like, we don't want slow songs from you. We want y'all to be robots. We want y'all to sing about ice cream. We want y'all to be dumb. And it's just like, fuck you. Because what happened, which y'all don't know, is that Red Velvet was trying to tell you our velvet side is our strongest side. And y'all were like, we don't want velvet, we want red. And then what do? They give y'all perfect velvet. And they established once and for all that their velvet side is their strongest side. And for those of us who saw it from the very beginning, we feel justified. But for those of you bitches out there who didn't want to see Red Velvet shine in an R&B context, fuck you and your mama. I hope you have athlete's foot.
People should have known from Be Natural. They should have watched Be Natural and went, oh, we need this. I don't know what the hot happiness was, or as they like to call it, hot penis, but we need this. And also, them doing like One of These Nights not being well received, I feel like shot them in the foot for future ballads, because now all their ballads are like breezy summer album ballads. Like even the ballads on The Perfect Velvet, I honestly skipped them besides Kingdom Come, because that's the only meaty song. Everything else is like la da da summer breeze. And I'm like, fuck that. You got Wendy. Let her sing.
Yeah. I feel like y'all not taking One of These Nights the way you were supposed to. You fucked up that album, because that album, that is a mini album that has a whole bunch of remixes of the same song, which I can't really always get down with that, even though the piano version of One of These Nights is gotta listen to it. But there were actually some decent B-sides on that, but nobody wanted to hear it because nobody cared for the title track. But then you go forward with them trying to do kind of slower songs, and it's just like SM doesn't want to entertain that. They do not want to entertain the girls of Red Velvet actually singing. Instead, and we'll do a Red Velvet deep dive later on. We're still gonna go back to FX eventually, but they don't want to support the girls from Red Velvet actually singing, like OST level singing, because it fucks up the illusion. And the illusion that they have for Red Velvet now is that Red Velvet are these quirk queens. The problem with that is we know what happens to quirk queens because we're talking about them right now, FX. Mm-hmm. And so longevity for Red Velvet would be if they could get on the charts with a ballad. That's longevity in Korea, because you could sing a ballad until you die.
Right. And I think they can. I mean, SM has the material, they have the girls.
Yeah.
Really disappointing.
It's short-sighted that y'all didn't, for not letting One of These Nights work. What happens is that later on, they don't get the kind of material that you can perform when you're 50, 60, 70 years old. Whereas One of These Nights you can. And you fucked up the bag for Red Velvet moving forward. So I hope that you're happy.
They need to course correct. And I'm not saying, I would say, I don't think SM should do a ballad title track next. I think they should do the promoted B-side needs to be a One of These Nights style song. Like, you know, instead of doing Pose, they do a ballad.
Yeah, I think that that would be good. I think that they ought to go ahead and like actually give Red Velvet an OST. SM groups very rarely do group OSTs. They usually do like solo singer OSTs. I would love to see Red Velvet do an actual group OST for like a really big budget television show. And I'd like SM to be really smart about it and like say, we won't even take that much money, just pay for a video for us and we'll promote the video.
They need to find out whatever drama IU is on next and be like, that's a certified hit because it's IU's in it, and get on that one.
Yeah, I think that's the move. That's the move.
But
yeah,
season
Red
2.
Velvet. Red Velvet discussion almost over. We'll still talk about them again later on. So yeah, Red Light, another album where a lot of different styles we have going on here. A lot of different styles. I think that this album in particular is definitely the sign that SM really was not invested in FX much anymore. Even though it's weird because Sully is a part of this album. This is the last album that Sully is a part of with the group. And so it wasn't like they didn't want to promote it, like they did a whole video and everything else. It was more like at that point they weren't worried about trying to give FX any kind of cohesion of sound. They were just like, what sound are we trying to promote for EXO, Shiny, Girls' Generation? We'll go ahead and try it out on this album, see how people receive it, and then we'll know whether or not we need to go back and commission more songs from this songwriter.
Yeah, this album is a full grab bag. What the fuck? But I like a lot of it. The B-side we picked, so I picked B-sides that we'll talk about later. I picked the B-sides that they promoted, so I won't talk about the ones that they promoted, but I really love Dracula. In fact, the live stage of Dracula that they did at their concert is awesome. The choreo is really, really cool for Dracula, and I would have picked it for the B-side we would have talked about had there been a good video of it, but there just isn't. There's only like really shaky fan cams of it. Dracula's really great, a really quirky, fun song. Butterfly is really beautiful and haunting. I love that song. All Night, another fan favorite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. During this time, I want to say Shiny had just done their really experimental album, which was the Dream series. So they had not Dream series, the Misconception series. So they had Misconceptions of You, Misconceptions of Me, and Misconceptions of Us. And they had a whole kind of monster motif for Misconceptions. And having Dracula on FX again, twinning. And this will happen. We will be talking about Shiny and FX again when we talk about the next album. But before we get to the next album, we have to talk about Sully and the situation with her and FX.
I remember when this news broke, and I remember being pissed because I was pissed because I was like, you fucked up the FX promotion. They had like a week left, a week or two left, and it's like, you couldn't have stuck it out a week or two, girl. That's how I felt at the time.
I'm pretty sure I have a video somewhere on my YouTube talking about my feelings at the time. Much like Mason, I'm not going to act like I knew what was going to happen from day one. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to rewrite history. I was pissed at Sully as well, but I wasn't pissed at Sully for wanting to take a mental health break. I was pissed at Sully about what was discovered during her mental health break, because timing is everything. And to this day, I'm not necessarily sure if it was just discovered while she was on break or if it was actually happening while she was on break. But when Sully said that she needed to take a break from FX, it was around the same time, again, I don't remember which came first, that it was discovered she was dating Choiza. Like somebody found his wallet or his phone, I can't recall, and they found like her pictures on phone. And one of the pictures was like a picture he had posted to Instagram of like their hands or something, and people didn't know whose hand he was holding, but then they found his phone or his wallet with like more pictures from that day, and it became obvious that it was Sully. And Choice is a rapper from South Korea who is a member of a group called Dynamic Duo. They are also the founders of a record label called Amoeba Culture, which is a really significant record label because Amoeba Culture is where we got Primary, it's where we got Zion T, and it's where we got Crush. So big deal, Amoeba Culture is. And Choice, I want to say, was maybe 10 to 12 years older than Sully. And so a lot of people had a lot of problems. Number one, because Sully is an idol and she's dating, so that's a problem. Two, Choice is a much older man, so that's a problem. Three, he's a rapper, that's a problem. And four, they felt like she was basically bailing from group promotion so she could hang out with her boyfriend, whose name is Choice, which in Korea is slang for big dick. So people felt like she was leaving group promotions to get dick down by her big dick boyfriend. And I have feelings about the way I approached that situation at the time. I feel like being mad at Sully was not who I should have been mad at. I should have been mad at Choice. But also, again, I don't know which came first. I don't know if she actually was with him when she was supposed to be taking a break, or if it just got discovered while she was taking some time for herself. I can't really say for sure. But Choice had been in the music industry for many, many years. Like Dynamic Duo had been around since the early 2000s. And he knew this industry. He knew this industry very well, him and his rapping partner. And for him to not understand how him being involved with a girl so much younger than him that has such a presence as an idol would be possibly damaging to her career and possibly damaging to her as a person and her psyche, I still haven't forgiven him for that. I'm not saying he was a bad boyfriend because I don't know the personal aspects of their relationship. But I will say that as an older person, he had to have understood that if anyone found out at any point in the game, it was going to be tough for her. And as
Right.
a person who cares about someone else, it makes sense for you to say, maybe this isn't the best idea for us at this moment because, again, your fans aren't going to take this well. And I mean, I don't feel like we're going to get married or anything. So it's not really worth it. And he didn't do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the fan reaction was bad. I definitely, don't look back on that and think I responded properly, but you live and you grow. Um, it was, yeah, it was weird. It was weird for a
Also,
while.
he
And
wrote
then,
a song about dicking her down later on, which was highly distasteful. So fuck
yeah,
that guy for real, for real.
yeah. And then, so after she leaves the group, or she goes on hiatus, she didn't officially leave until towards the end of like mid 2015. And people were bothered because that postponed FX from having a comeback for a really long time. Because it was this, because SM was playing the game of, are you in or out? And eventually she was out. So then we land on the final FX album. And as I said, my absolute favorite FX album, Four Walls, which honestly, shady. SM, I remember thinking that was Shady Boots. When the chorus of the song is Love is Four Walls, I was like, okay, I see what you did. Which was kind of shitty of SM, but really good song. It is the sister song to Shiny's View. They're the same producers, and actually Four Walls was written for Shiny and View was written for FX. And part of me wants to live in the alternate universe because both those songs are really great. And I think both those groups would have done amazing with both of those songs. So I would have loved to see both groups' renditions of those.
I would too. Also, there's a few mashups of the two songs to be found on the internet, and they pair beautifully. Like they're perfect for each other. Even the style of video is perfect for each other.
Yes, the like opening bits to Four Walls where they're like in their room in casual looks is very much like they're about to go meet up with the Shiny Boys from the View video. And instead we end up in Alice in Wonderland. And it's just a really nice video. It's really, really, really pretty to look at. There's no dancing. It's their first video with no dancing, which I remember people being excited about because that meant when the live stages came, people were like, ooh, we haven't seen any dance. So what the fuck's the live stage gonna be, you know?
Yeah.
And then the live stages were great. Like I truly remember like living through that era and like eating up the live stages. They were in, you know, 70s clothing with like pastels and bell bottoms. And truly, I think no member of FX has ever looked better than in the Four Walls era. It's the best Amber's ever looked. I think it's the best Victoria's looked. As far as group promotions go, it's the best how Crystal and Luna have ever looked. They all looked fantastic on
They
this.
did. And it's a look that still serves. Like that look you would still find on TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram. It's still a look that serves. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Four Walls was one of those songs that you could not get out of your head. The house style of music, I think, suits FX better than probably any style they've ever done. We'll be talking about another house song from FX a little bit later as one of the B-sides. But yeah, I feel like I did not know that I needed FX to be a house music group until that album. And I live in a world that is pissed as fuck that FX just didn't have a house music album.
Right? It that album deserved a follow-up. That
Yeah.
album deserved a follow-up.
It deserved a follow up. It deserved a completely themed house music song album. It should have gone through various iterations of house music over the years,
Mhm.
bring
Mhm.
in different producers. Like, if there was ever a group that deserved kind of the remix treatment, this was the group. This was the time, and
Mhm.
we all missed out on something that could have been really beautiful because I feel like the four members of FX that remained could have pulled it off. But SM again, Isuman has plans. And when Isuman has plans that don't go the way he wants them to go,
Mhm.
he basically is like, well, fuck it. That's how he takes things.
It definitely felt like, in fact, looking back, Four Walls as an album, like everything about that promotional cycle was so good that it really does feel like a victory lap for FX before they just get forgotten by the company. Because I just don't think Isuman, sorry, my computer is tilting. I just don't think Isuman knew what to do or even wanted to do anything with FX. Sorry, my computer is I have my stuff stacked weirdly. I just don't think Isuman wanted to do anything with them ever again. After
Yeah. And
they did All
it's a
Mine, an SM Station song where they filmed selfies of it. So, you know.
so this is the last FX thing, just period point blank. There's no more FX. Like they have a song, but there's no other printed, promoted thing other than a Japanese release, which I don't even think deserves to be talked about, other than to say it was far too little, far too late. They took one of the oldest FX songs and slapped it on a single. I'm like, oh, this is their Japanese debut. No video, no photos, no nothing. It was disrespect in the highest order. It was disrespect to FX because it wasn't promoted properly. It didn't even have fucking photographs, but also disrespectful to the fans in Japan who may have been following FX during their Korean career and were thinking like we'd love to have them do some Japanese stuff. Like it just wasn't promoted. It just wasn't a thing. And it's really a fucking shame that SM let them go out sad like that because they've definitely done way better for EXO's Japanese debut, NCT's Japanese unit. Like they've done so much better for every other act on the label to go to Japan. Even Red Velvet's Japanese Cookie Jar, that's a great fucking song.
Mhm.
But FX, it is a single that is literally a white cover with like funky graphics. Full stop.
Yeah. I found the lyrics cowboy sugoi not inspirational. It's just a shit song. And it's very sad that FX went this way. Um, it's just I FX ended up sad for most of the members. I feel like except for two. Sully, I guess we can talk about it now because after this we're about
Do
to
you
go
want
into
to talk about
solo.
it now or do you want to wait until we talk about Goblin?
No, you're right. We should wait till our solo.
Okay.
Okay.
So after this, that's when SM's like, what's a solo sound like for the members of FX? You know, maybe after all these years of not investing in the other members, what would it sound like if we just put the machine behind the different members? So the first member who we get a solo for is that bitch Amber.
I don't know how SM looked at their roster. So at the time of Amber's debut, they had 3 girl groups. They had FX, Red Velvet, and Girls' Generation. And they decided, after all those talented, wonderful girls, that Amber was the first out of all them bitches to get a solo.
And it's a rap song.
I just don't know who, what, where, when, and why this happened.
Okay, so if you were in second gen around this time, second gen was a really insular, almost incestuous space to be in. Like all the groups knew each other. They all had been around for years together. And there were certain people that you knew were friends with other people, so on and so forth. And there was this big contingent of foreign idols that were big friends with each other.
Mm.
And Amber, knowing that like she does not have nearly enough stage presence to be a solo, invites every single one of her friends from this foreign idols contingent to be in her music video. The music video is yellow, which is an ugly color for a music video. It's yellow and orange, kind of. And
Yeah.
it's just basically her showing off how many famous idol friends she has. There's no other point to this. The song is trash. She's rapping all the verses. They bring Taeyeon from Girls' Generation in to sing Shake That Brass, which is just, it feels cheap because it's supposed to be like shake that ass, but not that ass, shake that brass, horns, get it? Fuck out of here. Complete fuck out of here.
I hate everything about this song and the video. Tan must have been like, you guys had me for an hour. I will be on set for 1 hour. We will do 3 takes and then I'm leaving. Cause she for like the whole song just going, yeah, uh-huh. Like she's like not doing anything until like the very end of the song.
I mean,
It's just, and even then she didn't even do like live promotions with Amber. She's like, I got shit to do. So Amber called up Ailey, and it's like, why'd you get Ailey on this to begin with? Because why'd you get Tan at all? And also Ailey's too good for this too. Like,
yes. And then I bought Shake That Brass. I'm not going to sit here and act like there was a time when I didn't think that Amber had some potential, because I think I mentioned it earlier. Amber was the key to one of the things that we don't talk about enough with FX. FX really was the first girl group to really lean into the lesbian community of Korea. And a lot of that had to do with Amber. A big part of that had to do with Amber. It's not even just the fact that Amber was very masculine presenting. It was the fanfic community that grew up around FX. Like there were a lot of special ships in FX that were super hyper promoted. Yeah, that was a whole thing. And at the time, of course, I'm glad to see anything either overtly or covertly LGBT in K-pop, because Korea is not the kindest when it comes to gay things. And so I was very supportive of Amber. And I remember the video for Beautiful and being like really affected by that, because Amber, because of her kind of masculine presentation, she did a whole song about like never feeling beautiful and telling herself that like I'm actually a beautiful person. And I'm like, wow, this is a really beautiful sentiment. So I bought Shake That Brass. But Shake That Brass was a terrible mini album. She redid an FX song from the Pink Tape with Eric Nam, who again, hateful, fuck you. And if you're a member of the Samantha, the Shell 360 universe, you know my feelings about Eric Nam. I won't get into them here. But yeah, Amber just, she's not solo material. I'm so sorry. I don't know why people continue to lie to her. Amber's great in a group. She's just like a little sprinkle of like garam masala, or you know, just a little seasoning at the end of the
parsley on top. I'm like, I'm happy to see it there, but if it's gone.
Yeah, she's not salt, pepper, garlic. She's none of those. She's that other stuff. She literally is parsley. Honestly,
Yeah.
she literally is parsley. And you never hear anybody raving about how much they love parsley.
Right. It I think my problem with her music too is it's like I appreciate when someone pours themselves into their music. Problem is, I don't think that just because something has a special meaning, it makes it good art. That's my hot take as an artist. Is like just because she's like singing a song about how she feels ugly doesn't make it a good song. It could be a shit song, you know? Just as a song like a song with terrible lyrics, like Step Back, that new Got the Beat song, people hate the lyrics. But honestly, fucking killer song. I don't care that it's not, I guess I don't care that the lyrics are bad because it's like a catchy song. Where it's like Amber, it's like,
Yeah.
I guess the message is
I
nice.
didn't even notice there were lyrics.
Yeah, it's like, I guess that the message is nice, but this is audibly terrible and I don't want to sit here, you know? And it just comes across so cheesy, like the cheesiest way to communicate her feelings. And I feel bad saying that, but I don't know, if you're going to communicate things that have been communicated many a time, you don't feel beautiful. You know, I feel like a lot of Amber's theming in her music, even after her Shake That Brass album about identity and stuff, it's not, you know, love yourself. I mean, you know, it's very hard to make those universal statements that everyone hears and talks about sound unique. And I just don't think she's good at doing that. And I also think that another bad example of this is like, I just don't think Amber is funny. I think Amber thinks she's funny. I think Amber is terribly unfunny. I think she has the humor of a 9-year-old boy who plays Xbox. Like, that's Amber's humor. Like, she really thought Bacon Love was that fucking funny. She put on a bacon costume and sang, Bacon Love, Bacon Love. Are you a 9-year-old boy calling someone a faggot on Xbox? Like, who are you? Anyway, sorry, that was mean.
No. Amber's always welcomed in this house. Let me tell you something about Amber. I have a whole narrative in my head about what kind of fucking person she is. So let's get into it right now. Amber is one of those bitches who you knew in high school who was like big lesbian energy, but you also knew her family had money, so she was never going to actually come out. Also, Amber's one of those people who's like, throw a rock, hide your hand. She's very much the sort of person who's like, oh, I never do anything when we're public. Everything's nice. Everything's wonderful. I'm so PC, da, da. But then when it comes right down to it, she has really old fashioned, shitty ideas about things. She's a secret misogynist, more than likely. Because even when she talks about her masculinity, she's always like, well, I'm not into girly things, but she phrases girly stuff as being something lesser than masculine things.
Right.
And no one ever picks up on that shade. Every time she's defending the fact that she's not feminine, it's always phrasing femininity in a negative light. When she could easily say, I veer to the masculine side of fashion. I think femininity is wonderful and beautiful, but it's just not something I express in my personal style. That's not how she does it. It's always like, well, I always feel like I'm more a guy's kind of guy. I feel like I'm more of a tomboy space. And I feel like I've been picked on because I'm not girly, but you know, I'm me. And it's just like, fuck you. Like with everything in my shundo, fuck you. Not only that, but Amber does the is she not, what's she doing? She plays games about her sexuality. She knows like the only reason why people are fucking interested in her is because they're waiting for her to come out. So she does a video where she kisses a boy and everybody's like, ooh, Amber's kissing a boy. Or she does a video where she's wearing like a more feminine piece of costuming, like, oh my gosh, did you see Amber was wearing a skirt in this video? That's amazing. Or she'll do a love song where she'll have no pronouns, you know, shit like that. She's constantly, again, throwing the rock, hiding her hand, never wanting to fully come out there like that. And it's because she's a fucking fame whore, because she's taken her act to America to try to get famous. She's taken her act to Korea to try to get famous. She's over in China trying to make it happen. Like, Amber's constantly chasing this wheel, and she's never going to be truthful about who she is, what she's about, anything else like that, because she's constantly trying to chase a dollar. And I think about all the women in Amber's circle too, because Amber, in addition to constantly phrasing femininity as something less than masculinity, Amber only hangs out with two types of people. She hangs out with other men who are maybe slightly feminine or maybe just don't have a very strong masculine presence, or she hangs out with super feminine women.
Yeah.
Like all her girlfriends. Go ahead.
It's her, Eric Nam, and Ailey is like her friend group. And it's like,
Yeah, and it was the other girl, Shannon was another part of her friend group.
oh my God, I always forget that Shannon exists. I'm sorry to Shannon.
Really?
You got that one song, girl. You got that one song.
Like Shannon, honestly, vocally is what Somi thinks she is. But let's keep going. All the slander.
Again, how is Somi catching hands in a conversation about it?
I mean, let's just talk about it. But anyway, yeah, Amber stays surrounded by like super girly girls. And she always has these super girly girls in her videos, dance in the background, everything else. She never is surrounded by other women who are like her, which just goes to show even more that she recognizes the fact that she's playing off of this, is she not? She's trying to make herself like, I'm just one of the girls. That's why I always hang out with all these super feminine girls. I just have got this quirky style of my own. No, bitch, I know what you're doing. You're basically young MA without saying you're young MA. You surround yourself by the bitches you're trying to fuck. Go ahead and come out with it. That's why there's no studs on set, because these are your bitches. You're not sharing them with other studs. Do a video with you and the rest of the studsmen you hang out with. You're not going to do it, because then you'd have to tell the truth. And if they put you next to another masculine woman, it becomes too obvious exactly what the fuck you are. And we're not homophobic in this house, and we're not trying to push anybody out of the closet before they want to go out there. But if you're not going to say it, then shut the fuck up.
Right. It's yeah, I just think Amber has like a very dingy aura and presence, and like everything about her screams like not even like red flags, just like run. Like, this is not a good person. It's very like, you know how like people always thought Ellen was nice, and then like all that shit came out about Ellen a few years ago? That's how I feel about Amber. You know?
Oh, that's totally Amber. Amber fucking smokes weed and is never smoking on camera. Never smoking on camera. But paparazzi photos of her, like taken when she goes to different clubs and stuff, she's got her arm around some super feminine girl, and she's always either smoking a cigarette, doing hookah, or something else. Always lying. Always fucking lying.
Always lying. Honestly, she had a racism scandal, which was super weird because her, long story short, she said something racist, and her response was, well, I've been in Korea for many years, so I didn't know about the race issue in the US. And that is the most bullshit statement, because this was like, I think in 2019 or 2020. And Amber had been back in America for like 4 or 5 years up until that point. And also constantly visit America even when she was in FX. So like, I don't understand her being like, oh, I just don't know American culture. I thought they solved racism while I was away. Like, fuck you. You really thought that? No, you're just dumb.
Out of here. She very much plays up the stereotypical model minority thing. So the conversation was, she was on this podcast vlog. It's a fairly well-known Asian American vlog, but I can't remember the name of it. I'm so sorry. And they were talking about a situation with a guy who got arrested at like a train station, and he was eating something, and the police officer was like, you can't eat at the subway station. But he was like outside the subway station on the sidewalk, and he's like, I'm not eating at the subway station, I'm eating on the sidewalk. But anyway, he gets like taken down by the police and arrested for like non-compliance or whatever. And Amber's on the show, and they're like, how do you feel about this? And she's like, well, if he just listened to the police officer, like, that's the thing. When the police officer tells you to do something, you need to do it. You need to quit trying to be, you know, your own person, and quit trying to be defiant, and just do what the officer says. She doesn't even take into account the fact that this man did nothing wrong. And if you've done nothing wrong, you have a right to be indignant because you're being harassed for something that isn't a problem. You defend yourself against a baseless accusation. So her response, instead of being like, oh, well, you know, maybe I took an L on this and I need to learn better, it's, well, I haven't been in America. You grew up in America. You grew up in America.
Grew up in America, has been living most time in America for many years now. Like, I don't understand. That was not a good look for her. And it really showed, like, even though it was just one incident, I was like, there it is. That's the crack. That's the crack.
Yeah.
Crack
that was the facade, that was the facade breaker, and I'm so glad that that happened, only because like she's been scrambling to try to make this thing happen. She signed to the same record label that Haley Kyoko's on.
Mm.
And I, again, throw the rock, hide the hand. I'm signed to the label where their most famous artist happens to be queer, but I'm not. And that did nothing for her. Her views for her videos are laughable. Like, it's not doing anything for her. And I just hope that you continue to have a career that stalls until finally you're forced to take up a regular occupation like the rest of us losers.
Damn.
All right.
Yeah, we really said slander hour. We weren't lying when we said don't watch this if you are big fans of FX and don't want to hear it.
Now let's talk about some slander that's not on us, but it's on the general public. You guys slandered this song. Fuck you.
I purposefully put the worst song and arguably the best song back to back on this playlist. We go from Shake That Brass to the arguably best, maybe top 5 songs SM has put out. Definitely top 10. Free Somebody. JoJo, in JoJo We Trust. Thanks, sis, for writing this for her. I genuinely love everything about this song and video. I love the video. I love the animation is so fun. I don't even know where to begin. I honestly love the DHL with like the pink lighting. I think it's honestly very aesthetic. Her hair looks really nice. She just looks good. She looks good. She sounds amazing. And that song could have been given to anybody and it would have sounded good. Like they just gave her like an actual masterpiece of pop music.
Shake That Brass has more views, guys. Let's just talk about Shake That Brass has more views than Free Somebody. Life's not fair, y'all. We talk about our slander, y'all slandered this fucking song.
Luna deserved better. This was also released at a horrible time. It was during that, so if y'all don't remember, in 2016, and SM does this quite often, like I would say once or twice a year, they just do like a roulette of like every group will release something right back to back. But 2016 was particularly crazy because it was literally like every week or every 2 weeks, there was like a major SM release. So it was like, yeah, Tiffany's I Just Want to Dance. Then you had Taeyeon, then you had Jonghyun, and then you had Luna smashed in the middle, and then you had EXO smashed in the middle, and then you had Red Velvet, and it's just like, SM, stop. And Luna's album, I remember there wasn't even like, you know how usually there's like a Naver article like, so-and-so is rumored to debut solo next month. We didn't even get that for Luna. It was just, the teaser was uploaded, and then the album release was 5 days after the teaser was uploaded. They had 5-day promotional period for Luna. Like,
and Luna sang that song everywhere. She sang it on the radio, on TV. She sang it in subway stations. She sang that song at her hair appointments. She sang that song everywhere that anyone would let her sing that song.
And she sang it beautifully each time. So I don't know what the fuck is happening. The general public of Korea, it's not your fault you didn't know, but it should have been a sleeper hit. SM, fuck you. You're not seeing heaven, Isuman. No. Now after what you've done, Luna she really deserves another chance in my opinion, because she really is talented, and SM fucked it up because what they should have done was start her off with a ballad, because Luna was known as the vocal, because she had won King of Masked Singer a few weeks in a row early on when that show was coming out, and that show was really popular from the jump. So I don't know why. So follow me here, SM. It's early 2015, and you give Amber an album in early 2015 for whatever reason, even though you have Luna out here singing and being the most popular she's ever been because of her voice, and you don't give her even one well-promoted ballad single, a spring song, like anything. You give her nothing. And then a year and a half later, you fuck her over you give her amazing music, you just don't promote it. And I don't understand that. I don't understand going through and spending all of that money to not promote this album. It's not hard to promote. It doesn't cost a lot to upload to fucking Twitter. It's free. So I don't understand. Anyway, sorry. That was a lot.
We have strong feelings. I would say that Free Somebody is the best thing to ever come out of FX, period, point blank, full stop. Nothing that FX did in the entirety of their catalog even reaches the pinnacles of Free Somebody. Free Somebody's that girl. And it is, again, like I said, an FX house album. Free Somebody, Four Walls, another B-side that we're going to talk about in a minute. Like, the makings of a sonic classic. And also, I would challenge to say Free Somebody is the song that's aged the best on this list.
Yes. It is the one that will, like, 20 years from now, we'll listen to and we'll be like, ooh, it still feels just as good, you know?
Yeah. And it still gets played at Pride in Korea all the time. That's the other thing that's so frustrating about this. Free Somebody in its time, people didn't give a fuck about. As the years have gone by, that song has proven to have legs. It is still something that people think about fondly. It's something that to this day, when I was watching it, preparing for this, I was like, who should redo this song? Because it's not enough for somebody to do a cover of this song on a television show. Somebody's got to re-record this song. And I would pay great amounts of money to see Girls on Top, Got the Beat, whatever the fuck, cover this song.
I don't think the world would survive that. That would start the apocalypse. They'd be like, this is too good. We have to stop the music industry. It's over.
Now's the time.
You can't have Taeyeon, Wendy, Solgi. You can't have those girls on that song. It's not allowed. The universe will not allow that's too much of a good thing.
I would love to hear Taeyeon say, I want to free somebody.
Oh my God. Not even just Tan. Like, you have Tan and then you, like, a little bit.
They
like,
all take turns.
Yeah. No, we layer the vocals on that part. Oh, no, I'm thinking about it. It's real good. The vocal direction in my mind is amazing. Isuman, I know I said you're not going to heaven, but if you see this and this sounds like a good idea, give us a call.
Yeah, you're always allowed to repent. That's the great thing about Christianity. It's never too late.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the biggest slander of this show, is that this song didn't make it to where it needed to make it. If you want to listen to one song from this entire playlist, if there's just one song, listen to Free Somebody. Especially if you're gay. This song was made for gays.
Not only that, this was the global crossover SM should have had.
Oh, yeah.
This was I can't believe Butter went #1 in America and fucking Permission to Dance. And meanwhile, Free Somebody is sitting here, like, ready to go. I just... Anyways, next song.
Okay.
What is
next song is a song I had not heard before Mason put it on this playlist. And I played a little bit of this song for Stephanie, and she's like, oh, is that TikTok song? So there's a TikTok song that's like, without ever letting you know. Somebody's gonna know it.
Well, this is pre-TikTok, so.
Yeah, it has a very familiar sound to it. But yeah, it's Victoria's solo, Roof on Fire.
Victoria's solo was really weird because I remember SM put out a teaser photo for Victoria's solo. They were like, coming soon. And then it was nothing for about a year. And then this song came out as the pre-release for her album, which again, didn't come out for another like year and a half. But I gotta say, this is actually one of my favorite songs on this list. Something about this song is very hypnotic to me. I just really love it. It's just a good vibe. Chalk it up to my recreational drug use, as Sam likes to call it. But this song, honestly, late at night, and you play this song and you've had like a puff, it sits right.
Yeah, it's a kind of trancey song. I find this song to be boring. Also, I didn't realize how little Victoria brought to the table vocal wise until listening to this song, because I was like, if that's her, is she actually in any FX songs? Because no distinction.
Oh yeah, I think that's Victoria's problem is like her, Sully, and Crystal on songs kind of sound the same at times. And I just have, like, I think that's my one complaint with FX is I really have a hard time distinguishing voices at times.
Yeah. But just because Victoria doesn't have a long career in terms of solo songs, let us not shy away from the fact that of the members of FX, Victoria really is the most successful member of FX.
Oh, for
just
sure.
not in Korea.
China loves her and she's doing great. And honestly, beautiful, talented, I see it. Good for her.
Yeah. So Victoria's first really big claim to fame was her being a part of We Got Married. So let's go back to second gen for a minute. Let the kids all remember. Back in the old days, if you were an idol, you were an idol. It wasn't just I sing and I dance and I'm on social media. It was I also do television. I also participate in the Olympics. I also volunteer at children's hospitals. I also have a nursing degree. Like you were expected to pretty much do everything that people do.
They're Barbie. Everyone's a Barbie.
Pretty much, like honestly, pretty much. And so part of being a part of everything is that there used to be television shows made for idols where they would do shit that had nothing to do with being an idol. And one of those television shows was a show called We Got Married, and they would pair up two idols and make them pretend to be in a marriage. And Nickun from 2PM and Victoria from FX were in a marriage. And Kuntoria was considered like one of the ultimate We Got Married pairings. Both of them were foreign idols, so that was a big deal. But like at one point, Nickun actually took Victoria to Thailand to meet his family.
Oh.
Like they really, really propped this up. So later on, when Nickun and Tiffany were going together, people were like, but what about Victoria? Even though like obviously that was fake.
Right. I still mourn the beautiful, talented babies that Nickun and Tiffany would have had. Honestly, good for both of them, but as someone that thinks Nickun is like the hottest person on this planet, jealous of both those girls. I think if I saw him, my pants would just blow off.
Maybe. I mean, they had a very interesting relationship when we got married. It was very much like Nickun was a prank player, but like a failed pranker. And this was during the time on YouTube when like prank couples was a big deal. So that's part of the reason why it was a part of the zeitgeist. And Victoria was very like, can you please stop? Like that's kind of annoying. Can you not? Like that was her vibe. And so people really liked that kind of cat and dog energy that they had. But also just the fact that like they were a good looking couple together. And when he would stop being a jerk and stop being annoying, he really would be very sweet about the things that he would do, because he would try to prank her into surprises. So like he'd be like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom because I have diarrhea. But instead he's going and setting up a party room for her, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it was cute, but definitely that set off Victoria's variety career, and she's never looked back.
And she didn't have to. And I think that was always her role in FX, was to be, honestly, just be stunning and do good variety.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what some people's roles are in a K-pop group, you know.
Well, she did her job, because We Got Married really raised the profile for FX. I want to say that another member of FX did We Got Married, but I'm not sure who. Amber was on Key's season of We Got Married. She played one of his friends, which was interesting. I know, again, I hate talking about Amber, but Key's season of We Got Married was probably the weirdest season of We Got Married, because it was obvious from the jump Key cared nothing about the girl they paired him with. The only thing Key was interested in was setting up house. That's it. He's like, I want to have a wedding. I want to set up a house. I'd like to cook on camera. That's basically it. And this girl that he was with was a Japanese Canadian model, and she did not speak Korean. Key spoke Japanese, but like that was pretty much how they communicated. And she was like Key is the most fascinating human being on the face of the earth. I
Mhm.
know nothing. He can tell me to do anything. I just want to be in his world. I feel like we're friends. Key, on the other hand, was like, yeah, I've got this girl that follows me around, but that's okay because like a lot of these set pieces do need a female in them. Uh,
I see it for Key. I feel like there you go.
the best part of their wedding was they got married on a boat. And so Amber was one of Key's friends who came to talk to the bride about like, this is what Key is like, this is who you're marrying. Key invites members of Beast. I think it's members of Beast to come to his wedding. And I forget who showed up at the wedding, but Key, no, it wasn't Beast. Members of Infinite,
Wait,
because
what? Didn't he do that subunit with the infinite member and it was like a wink wink? Yeah, okay.
yeah, they show up to the wedding and Key's like, there's a receiving line where Key is like saying hello to all the people coming to the wedding because of course the bride comes out later. These two guys rock up to the boat to get on the boat for the wedding. Key literally jumps in the air and wraps his legs around this man's waist.
Mm.
And like koala style front hugging. And I'm just like, can you turn it down, Key? I realize you want to put it on loud.
Like you're getting married, dude.
Yes. You can't do this at the receiving line of your wedding. You have to wait.
Mm.
But yeah, like it was hilarious. And he like, she cried when her and Key broke up at the end of We Got Married. He was just like, this was a very pleasant experience.
He's so cold.
It was magic. Early second gen variety never fails to impress. We Got Married is a great second gen variety. Any of the Hello Babies are great second gen variety. Like
they don't train idols in variety like they used to. Like I honestly think that's one of the reasons why Girls' Generation really was the group, was because 21's good, but they couldn't do variety like Girls' Generation can. Those bitches are funny. They are, you know. Shiny's funny. They're 5 funny dudes, you know.
And that's the thing, like that's the career. That's the other part of it that no one talks about. Just like we said, not letting Red Velvet do ballads impacts their ability to promote songs later on. The members of Shiny all do variety. Every fucking one of them. Onu did like a variety cooking singing show. Key is on Amazing Saturday where he is a star.
A star. Taeyeon. Yeah.
Him and Taeyeon. Minho even has his own show where he like basically flirts with guys for an hour every week. It really is, that's his show. His show is basically he brings in a hot guy and he's like, do you like sports? Well, let's talk about it. And that's his show.
You could invite me on.
I mean, it's so funny. Okay, again, tangent. It's so funny. Minho's show literally is an hour of him saying, wow, you're a good looking dude. I bet you're good at sports. You have a great body. Tell me about your favorite sports teams. Yeah, you've got the legs for that. Tell me again about what team you're rooting for. Like that's his show. It's an hour of Minho flirting via sports.
Nice.
And then at the end of every show, is like, we should exchange phone numbers. That's how his show goes. It's hilarious.
Yeah. He's like, we got a cot in the back. No, Minho's too classy for that. He'd be like, let's get dinner first.
Minho's he probably would do it, but he'd be like, we should wrestle. You want to go in the dressing room and wrestle real quick? No big deal. I've got some oil. It'll be fine. There's a shower. Like literally.
There's a blow up tub, and you're like, what?
He's like, we're idols. We have to be careful not to get scratches on our skin. So let's just douse ourselves in oil so everything's slippery and there's no danger of scratching each other. And let's just wrestle.
Man, I miss good variety. I really don't think there's any group that I've gone to check variety for in like years. I think Twice was maybe the last group that I enjoyed their variety from. But like, I don't know if I want aespa variety. Honestly, I love Red Velvet. They don't have great variety. Second gen was just funny. They were just funny. Like,
yeah, and there's not a lot of variety programs to be had. I mean, there's what, Weekly Idol, Knowing Brothers, and
Running Man still around? People still on that?
I think Yeah, there's just not a lot of variety to be had. Now, granted, I'm not mad at the fact that we're not doing Isaacs anymore because idols were actually legitimately getting hurt trying to be Olympians.
Mhm.
But outside of that, like it would be nice to have more forays for idols to show them. I live alone. I live alone.
Oh
And
yeah,
even then, they do older idols mostly.
yeah. And it's about them living alone, so it's not like
Yes, like that kind of takes away the younger idols because they live in dorms.
yeah.
But yeah, okay, back to X.
Um,
Okay, so we're in B-side territory now. Being Airplane, Love.
so this song is a really good example of a thing that SM does that I don't like is I feel like specifically for their girl groups, sometimes for their boy, specifically for their girl groups, I feel like they pay almost zero attention to the performance of the B-side track. Like I feel like a lot of Red Velvet B-side tracks, a lot of FX B-side tracks, a lot of Girls' Generation B-side tracks at times, like it's just it's just really boring choreo. It's a really boring stage, you know?
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think this is just a really good, perfect example of just like a meh. It's meh. It's a meh stage. The
I
dance is
thought
not
that the
great.
costuming for this stage was good. I thought they had good clothes. I thought everyone's hair looked nice.
You
Um, Beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns. Uh,
girls.
but I like the song. I think the song is an interesting song because it's like, again, it's a noise track. It's got these
Yeah.
weird kind of like noisy, spindly
What
synths,
was it?
and then
It
they
was
just
airplane.
stop and say a
Yeah.
word, and then they go again, and then
Yeah. It's super prototype NCT.
yeah.
I was gonna pick an
So
SM group to do this song today, it'd be NCT. NCT Dream is who I'd pick.
oh yeah, yeah, I could see that. But yeah, Airplane. Airplane's a fine song off the pink tape, you know. So like I said,
Yeah.
just the variety of songs.
Yeah.
Airplane and Rum Pum Pum on the same album.
Yeah. It's fine. I also don't have a lot to say about Airplane. I picked it because it was the B-side they promoted and also the fan favorite, but it's not one that I honestly have any feelings for. It's bottom of the tier if I was gonna rank these songs for me.
Okay. All right. Next we have Milk, which is
From Red Light.
it is from Red Light. I mean, Sully's obviously it's one of her few performances before she left the group. Um, Milk is one of those songs that is interesting because I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with Milk? Like
I don't know.
FX does a lot of those songs. It's like, what do these words have to do with what the hell you're singing about? Other than the
Yeah.
ability to do this in the choreo.
It's like even if I
Like,
could, even if I did know Korean, I still don't think I'd have good answers. Like they're
yeah,
weird
just
songs. I actually really enjoy Milk. I remember hating it at first because it starts with a dog bark and a cat meow, and I was like, no, we don't need to start songs with dogs barking. But it's just really bouncy. It's really bouncy, and I just love that. The chorus is
yeah.
really cute. I don't know what they're singing about, but I'm like, get it, girl. You know, it's cute. Good for you.
Yeah, it's got a nice stacking to it, which is really fun going into the choruses. I think it's nice, but it's also just like again, why milk? Why milk?
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. So now we're on to probably my favorite B-side, which Mason knows, Rude Love, which again, we've already talked about it a few different times. The house album that FX never had, Rude Love is that one. Like my favorite part of this whole deal is the end of the song. I'm wanting you, baby. I'm wanting you, baby. Oh,
Just the piano, like the bam, 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 bam. Oh, it's the only song here that doesn't have a performance that I could find, but I had to put it on because I was like, I know Sam's gonna like it, and honestly, I want to listen to it again. So
yeah. It's wonderful. It's very much like 90s CNC Music Factory
mm,
house style.
yeah,
It's that very piano, uh, black box. I don't know how to describe it. Like it's something where if they had English lyrics for this and Martha Wash was singing it, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is from the 90s. Like
yeah,
this is very a direct throwback to a musical style. And I think that FX sounds amazing here. And I think that they have, like you were saying, how like so many of the voices are indeterminable. Like a lot of people sound like a lot of other people.
Mhm.
That's part of what makes them so great for house music, because there's not any particular vocal that's going to stand out and kind of take away from the vibe.
Right. Yeah.
So,
It's a great song. It's definitely the best B-side that we've picked.
okay, now it's time to talk about Miss Sully.
Yes. Her solo Goblin, which I remember when that came out, I remember being shocked when the teaser photos came out because I was like, I did not think she was still at SM. I just like she like left the group in 2014 or 2015 and like we didn't hear anything until 2019. I was like, I didn't even think she was still at the company, but you go, girl. Um
Don't
I really
watch this video if you're in a bad place. I'm just going to say that now. Do not watch this video if you're in a bad place. A
yeah.
lot of the written dialogue for the scenes where she's not singing are very triggering,
Oh,
especially the very last piece of written dialogue. Just do yourself a favor.
it's very sad girl TM music. Like, I'm a sad girl with a lot of mental issues music. That's what it is. It's like if you listen to Girl in Red, if you're a fan of Taylor Swift's folklore, like that's kind of how I feel about this.
Yeah. So let's talk about kind of what was going on with Sully prior to this. So Sully, we talked about her relationship. Her relationship with Troye went on for a few years before they finally split up. And he did like a really tasteless song about how good fucking her is.
Mhm.
Fuck that guy. But she still had some connections. She did a song with Dean.
Yeah,
They,
Fly,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So she did a song with Dean, and she was starting to come back into prominent, not prominence, but like she had changed dramatically. I think Sully, having been a child star, pimped out by her parents, she had always had people telling her what to do. And after seeing the public hate her for having a relationship, she kind of did a 180 on them and was like, I am now my own person. I'll do what I want. She did a little, I think she did some jewelry design. Like she just really became an ultra feminist based on like the years of people treating her like a doll. Now, I understand the impulse for people to want to treat someone like Sully like a doll. One thing we didn't talk about that we definitely need to is that Sully's face card never got declined. Like from very early on, Sully had a perfect face.
Hmm.
Like she has a face that people pay for. She had the button nose, she had the really beautiful eyes, and she had these beautiful full lips. The only person at SM who even looks similar to Sully is probably Joy.
Hmm.
Yeah, but like she was absolutely a visual. And again, like I said, a child star. She had been at SM practically forever, and she just kind of had the reaction that a lot of people have when they've been kind of told all their life who they are, how they need to be, how they're supposed to conduct themselves,
Right.
what's expected of them. She just totally said, no, I'm my own person. I'm going to do my own thing. I've been reading books. I've been looking at movies and videos, and I've decided that this is my life now. And I don't think at that time, actually, it's not even about thinking, it's knowing for a fact. I don't think at that time there had been enough credence given to the idea that people who have to live these super restrictive lives develop certain frames of mind around these lives in order to continue to live them. You
Hmm.
can't live a life where you are constantly under the microscope, constantly being examined, constantly being torn apart and put back together again without developing a framework in order to kind of not fall apart.
Right.
And I think Sully had a period of time when she was allowed to not be told what to do, that as she started to re-examine everything, the support wasn't there to allow her to do it in a healthy way. It
Right.
was like they gave her the break and then told her, now come back and be the doll that you were.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Sully was still very much trying to be the idol, even though she was kind of like, I don't feel like I need to wear a bra. What the fuck? I have small titties. Why do I need to wear a bra all the time? Even though she was doing that, she was on a show where she wasn't allowed to like be disrespectful. So at the same time that Sully was kind of exploring her feminist attitudes and Korea was at the very beginning of their kind of Me Too stuff, she was on a show that was kind of a spinoff on the Jimmy Kimmel Celebrities Read Mean Tweets thing. So Jimmy Kimmel has a thing called Celebrities Who Read Mean Tweets, where he'll have them find like the meanest tweets on Twitter and the celebrity will read them out loud. But on Jimmy Kimmel's thing, the celebrity's allowed to turn around and tell the person like, fuck you, like stuff like that. This was that. The show that Sully was on was that, except for she couldn't like be ugly back.
Uh-huh.
Instead, she'd have to be like, "Oh, that was a really mean thing to say. What made you say something like that? I'm not who you think I am."
Mm-hmm.
And that was her job. Her job
Um,
was to sift through all the bullshit that people had to say to her and then try to come out the other side of it like, "Oh, that was funny."
I don't
And
know
just
why she was put in that job. I mean, she even there was even stuff about her being at SM and like begging them to be like, you need to crack down on malicious commentators because it's getting to me. You know, it's really sad. Everything about Sully is honestly just very, very tragic. I feel really bad for how the last few years of her life unfolded for her. I feel like she just deserved better. And she was so young. I truly didn't realize how young she was. She was 25 when she passed.
yeah.
That's
Um, Having SHINee and FX be brother and sister groups has been tough because a lot of people who followed SHINee followed FX. Like they have a lot of common fandom. And prior to Sully releasing Goblin, Jonghyun had passed away. And there was finally more discussion about the mental health of idols. And Jonghyun specifically, part of his last notes before he passed, he talked about, you know, trying to seek mental health assistance and being told that the problem is him, that he just needs to think better and be better. And Sully coming out with this song, Goblin, where the premise is that she's a girl with multiple personality
mm,
issues and she's got 3 different personalities. Um, it was brave of Sully to do an SM video using SM's money after Jonghyun passed away to talk about mental health and to talk about it in a way that wasn't like everything would be fine if you just talk to somebody. No, it was like
mhm.
it would be better for me and everyone if me and my problems just disappeared.
Right.
Like,
It's what Amber was trying to do in a lot of ways. Tell her own story in a compelling way. Sully did it a lot better. Like this is a very artful song and video all the way around. It looks great, it sounds great, like the vision is there and you get it and you get the vibe. It's very
and
successful.
a scathing indictment of celebrity. You know, it's something that, again, like I said, I'm surprised SM let this out because, again, trigger warning, the end message is it would just be better for me to disappear. There's no redemption arc in this song. It's basically, these are all the parts of me. They're relatively harmless. Even in the video with the 3 different personalities, one personality is kind of like a curious girl who is just wanting to know more about the world that she lives in, wants to explore more of the world she lives in. Then
Mhm.
the next personality is kind of like the quirky girl who does fun stuff and like, you know, kind of pals around with her friends. And she's a little spicy, but she's, again, harmless. And then the final girl is her in like demon mode and her in like dark clothes, the
Mhm.
dark not dark makeup, but like, the more somber makeup with the skull cap. And she's in this very dark place, but she's in that place by herself. And all these three personalities just want to be acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole point, they just want to say hi. They just want to be acknowledged, acknowledge that I exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last line of the song is, "It would be better if she disappeared."
It's really sad. And then a few months later, she does. She hangs herself. Um, I remember waking up to that news. I think that's the worst part about the time difference between Korea and America is every now and then I'll wake up in the morning and I go, I hope it's not one of those days. Because I remember the morning I woke up and the first thing I did is I see messages from friends and I go on Twitter and I see that Jonghyun passed. And then and then I remember when Sully passed. I remember waking up, checking my phone. That was one of the first things I saw, that Sully had passed. And then a month later, Guhara passes away. Thankfully, I don't think we've had any major celebrity suicide
God, knock on wood.
in Korea. Ooh. But like, there's been definitely people I've been worried about. Like, I remember when Hara and Sully passed, I remember like, oh, Gain's been struggling the last few years, and those were her close friends. I remember thinking, I can't wake up to the news that Gain was next. It's just really sad. I hope SM as a company is doing a lot better with that. I feel like as a whole, K-pop has been doing better because you see constantly now. I mean, before this, you never heard of idols taking breaks. I would say after Jonghyun, Sully, and Hara, it's always so-and-so is taking a mental health break. And you know what? Good. I'm really glad that it's really, really horrible that it had to happen so late in the game. But I'm glad at least now companies are letting idols take breaks. And not even just like a week or two, like there's full promotions idols will sit out of.
Oh yeah, Twice has had that for a couple of members where like full cycles, they're just not a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever do a Tiara deep dive. If we do, we'll talk about Hada, but I mean, Sully and Guhara were they affected a lot of people because not only did we have these two young women who were constantly vilified and like bimbofied by the public,
Yes.
but also both of them had family situations that made it to where they didn't even have an opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, I'm still pissed that Guhara's mom, who fucking abandoned her, got 40% of her estate. Guhara worked hard, made her millions, and it goes to the mother that abandoned her. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, Korea.
Yeah. But, at the end of the day, when it comes to Sully, I am appreciative of the fact that, if we could brush it under the rug with Jungin and say it's a one-off, with Sully and with Guhara, both of them have led to big changes in the industry. With Guhara, legislation being passed where if you're a parent who abandoned your child, you don't get to come in at the last minute and get the money. With Sully definitely taking mental health more seriously, especially since her last public song statement was about her mental health. But also recently with Shiny, Taemin had to change his enlistment from being in the military band to being a public service worker because, unbeknownst to us, apparently he has had some mental health conditions that have required medication, and his condition had started to deteriorate while he was in the military. And thank God, SM moved mountains and petitioned on his behalf to get him made a public service worker so that he could fulfill his enlistment, but yet get the help that he needs on a more full-time basis than what the military was allowing. But yeah, I think that at this stage in the game, SM would not have survived having a second member of Shiny leave this planet so soon.
I don't know if the industry could survive it, honestly. I mean, I remember after Hara passed, that shit made international news to having two big K-pop idols pass so quickly behind each other. I had people who like didn't know anything about K-pop, but knew about K-pop. And they literally had people ask me, why are all these K-pop idols dying? And I'm like, yeah, it's a long answer, but it's really sad. um, I hope she's doing okay in whatever plane, universe. I don't know what the fuck the afterlife is. So if there is one, so Sully, if you're still around in some sort of afterlife, I hope you are finally at peace. Truly, I hope you're at peace.
I hope so too. And I'm sorry that we didn't understand. Cause like honestly, really and truly, I didn't understand during the red light promotions. Later on, I was just kind of like, I don't get this, but it's not harming anybody. But
Mhm.
definitely we didn't understand. And I really and truly wish that we had the capacity to have campaigned on your behalf for you to be put in better situations.
For sure.
But
Well,
yeah.
on a positive about the song, I have to say I love the styling. It's real cute. The pink hair with the pink lips and the green eyebrows, I honestly thought was genius. I thought she looked great in that.
I wasn't a fan of the look, honestly. I think I like the kind of dark Sully look a little bit better with the hair twist, but that's okay because I think that each look in that video was supposed to represent a different Sully. And so I think that the looks weren't meant to be beauty looks, they were meant to be character looks. And for
Mhm.
that, I think it's successful.
Yeah.
It is a mini. Yeah, it's a mini album. It's not a physical mini album. It's a digital mini album. So there's a few more tracks if you want to listen to them. IU wrote a track for her for that little mini, so check those out. But yeah, the music is good. Sully's voice is interesting. Like I didn't understand why Dean wanted Sully's voice on a song. I'm like, Sully, really? Of all the people that you could collab with, her? Not because I hated Sully, but just like I don't think I've ever had a moment where I thought about, oh wow, Sully has a really great voice. But listening to this solo, I'm like, oh, her voice is a lot huskier than I gave it credit for. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of like vocal trilling and running in the background of this song that I'm just like, is that her?
It really was an interesting look at her vocals because it really revealed that, oh, maybe you weren't utilized to your potential in FX.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I feel like had Sully been able to hold on a few more years, I could definitely see this stage of music being very kind to her. Like with TikTok and like that kind of whole singer songwriter aesthetic really getting popular, I could see a lot of success for somebody like Sully in this
Yeah,
particular musical landscape.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
All right,
But,
next, we're almost done. We got two more songs, I think.
mm-hmm,
You do.
yeah,
So next we have um, Diamond from Four Walls. This is the song that they promoted with. And I
yeah.
was not sure if I wanted to put it in, but I decided to because listening to it, I was like, this sounds like an NCT song.
Is
Is that an
Diamond
NCT song
the
or an
song
X
that
song?
Zico wrote for them, or was that a different one?
No, it was not the one that Zico wrote.
Okay, okay. I thought it was okay. I was more looking at the costuming, and I'm like, I like all of these clothes. These are really good clothes that y'all have going on here.
It
Like,
was a great era for them. They look good. I thought the chorus was interesting because it's like, I feel like Amber never gets a chorus. So I thought it was interesting that she got a chorus. And honestly, I thought she was the right pick for the chorus too. She sounded good. Um,
mhm.
I really enjoyed that track. I thought it was a cool track. But yeah, it reminds me, I was like, I feel like this is a modern EXO song or like an NCT song.
I could see that. I thought it was a good song. Most songs called Diamond are great songs anyway. Like there's just like, oh, that's gonna be song titles that stand out in mind in terms of like I want to go back and listen to that again. But I did enjoy the stage. I did enjoy the costuming. It was nice. It was nice. Yeah. And then our final song we have is Luna's "Do You Love Me" featuring George.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not her new song. It's a song she put out under SM. I just like it proved to
It
me
was her
that
last
was,
SM.
yeah, it just proved to me that Luna was done dirty. Cause like I like the video, I like the song. It's a nice, quiet little R&B number, and she looks great, and her voice is great. And I love that it's like looks like some old vintage video, on
Yeah,
MTV.
I bought that song. Like I paid money for that song. I bought it on. Did I buy it on Amazon Music or did I buy it on Apple? I think I bought it on Amazon Music. But I liked that mini. I liked that
Mhm.
song. I actually saw my own comment in the comment section
Oh,
where I
really?
said, yeah, I saw my own comment where I said I would pay for a whole R&B album for Luna. And of course it showed me my own comment because I'm on my own account. And
Oh.
then like there was a comment by Cat Black under the song.
I love my favorite thing is going to a K-pop video comment section and like at least 5 scrolls down, I'm like, oh, Cat Black has been here.
So yeah, it was good. It was good, and it's a nice kind of breezy fall spring song
Yeah.
when the weather's like in between. Like it's a good song, and Luna sounds good. Luna's got a song out right now called Madonna, which is mm. Luna's a good singer. She just is. She just has all the charisma of a potato.
Yeah, it's hard on screen. She needs someone to write her better songs because Madonna wasn't great. She also did the Korean cover of Say So, which if you remember was honestly tragic. So,
Listen, the problem with her version of Say So is that she tried to lean into a different voice style than what's her voice style. And I
mhm,
think if she had approached it with not as nasally a voice quality, we could have had something, but
mhm,
she didn't. She picked the wrong vocal to go with for that song.
right. But yeah, I just wanted to end with a nice little R&B number. Because who doesn't love a nice little R&B number?
Yeah. Overall, FX is a group that was done dirty by their record label because the record label had ulterior motives. FX is a group that is hard for a lot of people because of what the consequences of that being dirty led to. And FX is a group that deserves a lot of a lot of considerate reminiscing because people are doing covers of FX songs now. Like lately, a lot of these young girl groups have been doing covers of FX songs.
Mhm,
And it's challenging for them to do. It's not an easy thing to do, but
mhm,
it still sounds very good. Like you have girl groups still doing covers of Red Light and Rum Pum Pum and Electric Shock, and it still sounds very, very good because these songs are very well written and they're interesting in their production, and they are songs that in the hands of more popular groups would have been blockbusters. Like I can tell you now, if you gave Four Walls to Red Velvet,
number one.
yeah,
Straight to
if,
number one.
yeah, if you gave Free Somebody to Taeyeon,
Oh my God, it'd be the biggest song of her career.
yeah, if you gave Rum Pum Pum to Espinal,
That'd be really cool.
yeah, so like it's just they really put in a lot of work for where K-pop could go, and
Mhm,
K-pop doesn't frequently go those. So it is a snapshot of a time and a changing industry too, because FX also is
mhm,
representative of early second gen and very late bordering into third gen,
mhm.
and watching how that look changes completely. So I think that they definitely are worth revisiting. I think they're worth remembering fondly, and I don't ever want to see a reunion of FX for the rest of my life. And I don't say that to be shady to Luna or Victoria or even to Crystal. I say that directly to be shady to Amber. I don't ever want her to make another penny off of FX's name. One thing I didn't talk about when we were talking about Sully because I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach it. The other members of FX have been very tight-lipped about the way that they talk about Sully.
And that's fine.
People to talk about. You don't have to. I'm saying you have to. But I'm just saying reasons border on disrespectful when you're talking about something like that. And also the group ended and everything being so messy, it's easy for the public to misunderstand relationships and put it against the public context of the group. So the other members of the group have been very careful about how they've talked about. So everyone except for fucking Amber, because again, fuck that bitch. She's the one who had to do an interview on how K-pop chews up and spits people out and what they did to Sully and how awful the industry is and everything else. And it's like, but you're not out of it. You got a whole bunch to say, but you're still trying to be a part of it.
Uh-huh.
So really, who is this for? Honestly, Amber, who?
It's the attention.
So yeah. So that's why I say I don't ever want FX to get together again, because I don't want Amber to ever make another round cent off of that group ever in her lifetime. I hope that when she tries to perform FX songs at her concerts that people boo. I don't want her to be able to profit off of that any more than she already has, because I don't believe that she ever had kind intentions with anything. And I think that that group deserves better than her kind of picking over the bones of it. Also, shout out to Crystal for living your fucking life. We didn't talk about Crystal having any solo stuff really, because Crystal's solo stuff has been like OST things.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is my biggest, the one thing I really wish she did before she left SM was do a solo album. Because I think of all the solos from FX, that was the one. That could have been the one, you know?
Yeah.
I
But
just
it didn't happen.
voice and look, and I would love to see her do an album. I really would. I'd take anything. She did one weird song, like a weird artsy art house song, and did like a photo book for it. It's real weird, like not even like a song. Like it's just sort of like an experience. So I don't want to put it in.
Mm. But yeah, she's been acting. She's still acting. She's in a show right now, I believe. But yeah, Crystal has just been living her life. She dated Kai from XO for a minute, which was a great look for her because he seems like he fucks.
Ooh.
And she's done a show with Rain, which was a bad look, unfortunately. She was in one of Eamon Ho's big shows, which airs. She was in Airs, and that was a big look for her. So she's been working, and you know, she's managed to also keep herself out of a lot of the conversations around her sister, which I think that in and of itself is a feat.
The fact that Crystal has been around a shit ton of drama and has been like, it ain't touching me though. Good for her.
Yeah, that bitch is Teflon. Like it falls off her back. I remember when Sully passed and Amber did big Instagram stuff. I think that maybe Victoria did something a week or two. Victoria waited a minute to say something. I think Luna waited a minute to say something, and Crystal barely said anything. And people were like, "That why isn't Crystal saying anything?" And then Crystal was like, "I waited until I could get the right words." And people were like, "Oh, well, let us be quiet." And I'm like, "That's how you do that right there. That's how you do that."
Also, let people mourn in private.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If we ever do the Shiny deep dive, I would like to talk about Korean funeral culture, because that experience is an experience that no go through.
Oh, yeah, I will never. There's some stuff I saw from his funeral that I just is like seared in my brain in horror. I mean, some just truly tragic.
There are just
Really
some moments. Yeah, there are some moments that are not meant for public consumption. And thank God Sully's funeral and Gluhada's funeral end up the same way. But like Junghyun's funeral, I don't know what time of day that funeral took place, but it must have been at noon when the sun was absolutely shining, because the brightest of lights in everyone's face as they are completely drained of color and crying. And I mean, camera shoved in his mother's face, camera shoved in his sister's face, camera shoved in his group members' faces. The people who picked on Yeri because she was emotional at a funeral. Yeah.
Imagine losing someone close to you and being bullied online for being sad about it. Like, I mean, people suck.
They
They're
are the
just
worst.
evil amongst us.
People really are the fucking worst. At one point, the members of the television show that Sully was on, where they were the insults, like, how are we going to do the show without Sully? And the public's answer was, don't. And they actually waited like a couple of weeks to decide whether or not to discontinue the show. And it's like, how is that even a consideration at this point? If nothing else,
right,
you should only do the show to shame the folks who say shitty stuff on the internet. That should be the only reason why the show exists.
Yeah, you
but
need to hunt them down PI style and going into their house and saying, what the fuck is up with you?
That would be an amazing show. Like, real talk, a show that tracks down the internet's biggest trolls and just shows up to their house and being like, this you? And that could be the name of the show, this you.
I would watch the shit out of that. Lady Gaga posts up at someone's house.
That would be, granted, that would probably increase trolling because they'd be like actual fans trying to like get the celebrity to show up at their house. But like for the ones who like are real trolls, like deep in the wool trolls, I would pay to have a show called This You, where the PI shows up with their tweets on like big message boards outside their house for their neighbors to see and being like, the person who lives here said this about someone on the internet. Show up outside their job and be like, you said this about somebody on the internet.
Right? Man.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone takes a look at FX if they haven't. Again, I would start with Four Walls. That's the album that's aged the best. It's super clean. But yeah, take a listen and see if you like anything. As K-pop fans, we owe them a lot. And as far as our next few episodes, the next Boys Love review is going to be for Bad Buddy. So that's the next thing we're filming is Bad Buddy, then Mariah Carey, and then Call Me By Your Name.
Call me by your name.
Tell me you love me in private. Yeah. That's going to be a shit show episode. I'm really nervous about that one, but we'll see what happens, y'all.
I don't know why. There is no Instagram of the day. I mean, the different members of FX are on Instagram, but I'm not going to find them if you want them, because if I had to give you all the members, I'd have to give you Amber, and I'm not gonna, so fuck it. Sorry, the slander continues. I don't think we have a manga of the day, but I do have a book recommendation. It's this book right here. It's called Iron Widow.
I've heard of that.
I have not read it yet. I just got it in the mail yesterday, so that's why I haven't read it yet. It's by Shiran J. Shao, and this author I followed on the internet on Twitter before this book came out. And I waited a really long time to get this book because this book's been out for like a few months. But the author of this book did a very viral YouTube video about like what's historically accurate in Mulan during the time.
That was her?
Yes, this is her.
Oh, I have to pick that up. That was a good video.
Yeah. Okay. So this is her debut novel, Iron Widow, and it is basically like a Pacific Rim kaiju story.
Bitchin'.
Yeah, so it's pretty awesome, but like the lead character is also named after the first female Chinese emperor. So it's cool stuff. But yeah, she had a YouTube channel where she talked about what's historically accurate for both the Mulan live action and for the Mulan cartoon. And she's a joy to behold on the internet. And so I definitely recommend picking that up because she's a socially responsible artist as well. And there's far too few of them. So I absolutely recommend picking up her book. It's gotten really great reviews. It is a bestseller. So yeah, I'm not asking you to read something that's super niche and obscure. Like this book actually sold out on Amazon for a minute. They ran out of copies. So it's been that popular.
Oh, good for her.
Mm.
All right. Well, we will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.